my name is Bubbles from the Township of Woolwich Summer Camp, and today I'm super excited to be sharing with you a cake recipe for Canada Day. So today we're going to be making a simple white or vanilla cake that you can make with your family for Canada Day. So to start, we're going to want to start with clean hands, so make sure you wash them before you begin. I've already washed mine. And then to begin, you're going to want a medium or large size bowl. And you're gonna wanna add a half a cup of softened butter. So you can just put that right in there. And then you're gonna wanna add a cup of white sugar. So you can pour that right in. And to start, we're gonna start just by creaming these together. So we just wanna stir your butter and your sugar just until they start to cream together and they become one. And the recipe that I'm following today is going to be available in this post or on the Township website celebrating Virtual Canada Day. So if you want to follow that, you can go ahead and download it, and it'll have all the measurements and just more details about everything. So we're just want to cream together this butter and sugar. Make sure that your butter is softened. It'll work much better if it's softened. So set it out maybe a little bit before you want to bake. And you can just make sure that's ready. So as we're creaming it together, you'll see that they start to combine, the butter and the sugar. So you want to start seeing it combine. It's going to be a bit crumbly at first before it fully combines. And then once you have it fully combined, we're going to go ahead and add 2 eggs. So I have my 2 eggs here. So you want to just crack them right in the bowl. So there's 1. And then you can add a second one. And if you get any shell in there, no worries. You can just go ahead and fish those out. You just want to stir, and you want to add your eggs to the butter and the sugar mixture. And just keep stirring until they start to combine together. And then once you have a bit of a mixture there where they're all combined, you can go ahead and add vanilla. And we're going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So you can pour that right in there. Shake, make sure you get it all in there. And then you're going to want to stir your vanilla in as well. So right now we have butter and sugar that we creamed together. And then we added 2 eggs and we added some vanilla. So you just want to make sure that that's all combined together. So you can scrape it and just make sure it's combined. And it should look something like that once it's all combined. And once that's done, you can go ahead and set it aside, and we're going to move on to another bowl. This one can be a bit smaller, and in this one, we are going to add a cup and a half of white flour. You can add that in, and you're also going to add 1 3/4 teaspoon of baking powder. You can add that in. And we just want to combine that lightly, so you can use another wooden spoon, or I'm using a fork. You could use a little whisk, whatever you'd like, just to combine the flour and the baking powder together. And just combine that, make sure it's ready to go. And once you've combined those together, you're going to want to bring back in the other bowl that we finished with, the creamed mixture. And you can go ahead and add the dry ingredients, so the flour and the baking powder. You can add them in, just dump that bowl in, and you can set that to the side. And then you're going to want to stir, and you're going to want to make sure that the cream mixture and the dry ingredients are combined. So stir that nice and well. So in here we have our flour, our sugar, our eggs, and vanilla, and we have our butter and our baking powder. So that should all be in there. And you're going to want to stir it really well. Make sure all those dry ingredients are mixed in. And at this point, it might feel a bit like a cookie batter, which is good, because we still have another ingredient to add. Just want to make sure that's all stirred in there. And then to this mixture, it's pretty one piece right now, we're going to add a half a cup of milk. So you can pour your half a cup of milk in there. Just white milk works perfectly. And then we're going to want to stir that up. Stir the milk into the mixture. And it's going to be a bit liquidy at first, which is good. And it's just going to add some liquid to that mixture. Making a bit of a mess here. Try not to make a mess if you're like me. And we're just going to keep stirring it. And it's gonna start taking shape like a cake batter. So it's gonna get a bit more liquidy, it'd be easier to stir. And just keep stirring. And stir that up. You can use a wooden spoon, you can use a whisk, whatever works. You can also, if you don't want to do this recipe by hand, you can definitely use like a stand mixer or a hand mixer. That'll work perfectly. Whatever's easier for you. So here we have batter, and it feels more like a cake batter now that we're stirring it and the milk's been added. So once you have a good cake batter consistency, we can set that aside, and now we're going to want to prep the pan. So the recipe does call for a 9x9 pan. I am using a circle pan. It's a springform pan, but you can use whatever. This is a bit smaller than 9x9. You can use the square pan if you'd like though. And then I'm going to take a piece of wax paper or parchment paper, and you're going to want to grab some more softened butter. And you're just going to want to butter the pan just so that your cake doesn't stick. So you can add some butter to your parchment paper and just rub it all in the pan just so that your cake doesn't stick to the pan when you go to take it out. So you want to put it all in there. Make sure it's nice and greased up. Perfect. And we can set our butter aside, our parchment paper. And then we're going to want to put the cake right into that pan that we just greased. So we can just dump it into the pan, just like that. You want to make sure you get every last bit of that batter in your pan. So you can do that. And then I'm going to grab a spatula as well. And I'm going to do a spatula around the bowl just to make sure I don't leave anything. We want to get as much of that batter in the pan as we can. So we'll put that in there as well. Awesome. And we'll set our bowl aside. And then once you have your batter in the pan, you just want to kind of spread it out. Make sure it's completely spread out. It's all around the pan. Make sure all the batter is there. Perfect. All right, so once you have all your batter in the pan, we're just gonna go ahead and put it in an oven that's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're gonna put it in from anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes. So I'll go ahead and put that in the oven right now. The recipe says 30 to 40, so I've set my timer for 35 minutes, and we'll check in and see if it's done then. We'll see you in a bit. Hi again, everybody. So now I've taken the cake out of the oven and let it cool. My cake did need a little bit longer to bake, so I had it in there for about 38 or 39 minutes. But now it's completely baked through and it is cooled. And now we're gonna move on to the portion that is the JELL-O poke portion. So for this, we're gonna need a pack of JELL-O powder, some boiling water, and a large fork to make some holes. And again, we're gonna wanna start with our clean hands to make sure you've washed them again. And we're gonna take this fork and we're just gonna kind of poke some big holes in the cake, just at random intervals. Just wanna poke holes, and that's just gonna allow for the JELL-O to make its way through the cake. Just wanna keep poking, make lots of holes all throughout the cake. So there we go. And then once you're done with making a bunch of holes, we're gonna go ahead and put the fork to the side, and we're gonna start making our JELL-O mixture. So I have a plastic bowl that has a spout for pouring, and we're gonna use 1 cup of boiling water. So I boiled that in the kettle before we started. And then we're gonna go ahead and add our JELL-O powder. So you can go ahead and add your JELL-O powder. And that's just 1 pack. It was 11.2 grams. So you can just add that into your boiling water. And then we need a spoon. So you're just gonna stir, and you're gonna wanna stir this for 2 minutes. So we're just gonna start stirring, and I'll catch up with you when I'm finished stirring. All right, so I've been stirring the JELL-O powder for about 2 minutes now. You're just gonna wanna make sure it's completely stirred until it's all dissolved, all the powder's dissolved, and they're both completely combined. So once you have that done, we're gonna bring the cake back in with the holes that you already did, and we're just gonna go ahead and pour the jelly mixture, the hot water, all over the cake. And it's gonna kind of seep into those holes we made. Just wanna pour it all over the cake. Perfect. And then once you have it poured over the cake, we're gonna let the cake cool for about 2 to 3 hours in the fridge, as if you're just setting JELL-O. So you can go place that in your fridge for 2 to 3 hours, and then we'll check back in after. And I forgot to show you, but here's what your cake is gonna look like before we put it in the fridge. So it has a pink tint to it from your JELL-O, and it seeped through all those holes. So now we'll see you once it's cooled. All right, hi again, everyone. So now we have the JELL-O cake that was sitting in the refrigerator for about 2.5 hours. I left mine, and I just removed it from the pan, and I set it on this nice cake pedestal where I'm gonna decorate it. So you can see on the top here, it still has that pink tint from the JELL-O. So for the icing, I'm gonna just go ahead and use some canned frosting. You could make your own from scratch if you'd like, or you could use Cool Whip even. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put some on the cake. Just gonna wanna start spreading it just roughly on the cake. And then once you have some icing, you're just gonna wanna spread it in a thin layer all over the top of the cake. You wanna make sure it's even all around the top. And if you get some crumbs, that's totally fine too. It depends how sticky the cake is. And we're gonna want to spread it all over the top and then get it on the sides as well. So you can go ahead just like that, get it on the sides. And like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, for the decorating, we are gonna be covering the top of the cake afterwards for more decorating. So don't worry if the top of it doesn't look perfect. We're gonna cover it in some more decoration. So we're gonna wanna get an even layer all around the cake. And if you wanted to use like a chocolate icing, you definitely could. I just chose vanilla because I think it will match better with the decoration we're gonna get around to. So I just wanted to add a little bit more. I needed some more for the sides. So we're just gonna keep spreading that all around. And I hope you're all having a great Canada Day, and I hope you're enjoying the activities the township is putting on. There's tons of different activities you can follow. There's some crafts and other activities or science experiments. So I hope you enjoy all those videos. All right, so once you kind of have a rough spread of icing all around the cake, you're good to stop there, and you can make it as thick or as thin as you want, the layer of icing. It's totally up to you. So I think I'm pretty happy with mine. It's not perfect, but that's totally fine. You don't want it to be perfect. So once you have that, nice layer of icing. Just nice. You can see kind of the crumbs came up, and that's totally fine. So next I have a maple leaf template. I just cut this out. You can print them offline, you can freehand it however you'd like. And I'm just gonna go ahead and place it on the center of the cake. And this is gonna help with our design that we're gonna make. And then I have some red sprinkles, just a bottle of them. And we're just gonna go ahead and kind of sprinkle them all over the rest of the top of the cake. You can put them right on top of the template of maple leaf, because our goal is to leave a white maple leaf in the center of the cake. So we're just gonna put sprinkles all over, and this is gonna get a little bit messy, and that's totally fine. Just gonna sprinkle them. You can clean up the pedestal or your plate after before you serve them. Just wanna make sure the top of the cake is covered. You can use you can go around the sides if you'd like. I'm just gonna stick with the top, I think, for now, and see what I think. I'm just taking a little spatula and just spreading them out so that they go everywhere. And then you're gonna wanna peel up that maple leaf template. So you can use a little knife or anything. So once you have removed your little template, you can see here, I don't want to tip it too far, but you can kind of make out the little maple leaf. There's the top and the two sides. And when you lift up that template, you will have a nice maple leaf in the center of your cake, surrounded by the red sprinkles. And like I said, you can go ahead and do sprinkles around the side if you want. I just chose to leave mine plain white. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you make this cake as well and have an awesome time. Bye!